Okay, so before we hop into your session, I'm just going to go over a couple of things. I did pull you some oracle cards. We're not going to go over them in the session, but I will send you pictures and guidebook descriptions because that'll be a deeper level of messaging. I also asked each one of your chakras what kind of crystals would help with your healing and growth. And so I built you a crystal grid. Yes.
Cool.
And I will send you pictures of that as well. There's nothing you have to do with it. It's doing its own healing thing. But if you ever want additional downloads or insights or a reboost from this session, you can look at the crystal grid and it'll do that for you. And then I will send you the replay either today or tomorrow whenever it gets done processing. Does that all sound okay?
Yeah, that sounds great.
Great. Okay, so the notes that I have here that you left me were anything that Spirit wants me to know and focusing on our spiritual gifts. Does that sound right?
Yes.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay. Question for you. Are you into quantum physics? Do you also listen to Bashar?
Yes.
Okay.
I would say I've started down the quantum healing pathway in terms of knowledge acquisition.
Beautiful. Okay. I can see that we have done a lot of healing in our fields, and we are into some higher esoteric concepts right now. So a lot of that's come through in your reading today. I'm very excited for you. And so all that work that you have been doing is vastly paying off. Like you're accelerating at a very quickened rate. And once you get that ball rolling, very easy to pull new things in.
That's how it's been feeling.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm pumped to hear that from your end. That's excellent.
Yes. Beautiful. It's kind of like you get over this precipice hill and then it just gets a lot easier afterwards.
Yeah, it's very much like that with the healing journey too.
Yes.
With the self-love and the self-compassion, it does very much feel like you just have to get over that hurdle.
Yeah, it kind of goes on autopilot there afterwards. I mean, there's still work that you have to do to like put it
right.
On some days, but it's a lot easier. So why don't you tell me a little bit about where you're at on your spiritual awakening journey and where you're trying to head to, either with consciousness or your abilities or what you're wanting to do in the collective?
Okay. So I am trying to bounce back from burnout. I've exited working in the matrix, whatever you want to call it.
Oh, congratulations.
And thank you. So I'm trying to figure out how to support myself outside of that. But sort of the message I've been getting from the universe is like, learn how to surrender. So
that's going to come through a lot in your reading today. But your higher self. Your higher self, when I went to go do the pre-channeling, she was like, blah, 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 blah. And she kept going down. And I was like, okay, hold on. I gotta write these down. Okay.
That's very,
a lot of it is you recovering from burnout. Okay.
Yeah. So I'm trying to get to a place where I can just chill and receive and trust that, get in touch with a more feminine energy. And man, you may not have that tea. I know. Sorry, my dog is. I know.
I was wondering if you had a dog, like was on your cup. Yeah. I was like, I bet she has a dog.
Yeah, she's a little one. This is the previous one. This was her name was Dixie. The new one is Ellie Mae.
Yeah. Oh, hey, Ellie Mae.
I work through my traumas with my hound dogs. They're big feeling. Love. Yeah. Okay, what was I saying? So recovering from the burnout. And I'm so impressed with myself that I remembered. Like probably the higher self, my brain's wanting to like all of the information. But what I'm trying to align with is I really cultivating this feeling of unconditional love, sort of the merging of the ego and the soul stuff. I want to live from that space, and I am totally cool with whatever the universe wants me to do within that, as long as I'm like vibing there. So that's sort of like I've been thinking of it as I have a heading. I have an idea of where I want to go, but I have no idea what it's going to look like. So that's more or less where I am right now. And trying to get I have some money that I can pull out of stuff to help me in the meantime. But again, just sort of trusting that the process will support me in this path as I go. So more or less, that's it.
Absolutely. What were you doing in your 3D job previously?
I was a medical technologist, so all of the various fluids that the health industrial complex collects from people to diagnose them sent our way, and then we would analyze. And but it was sort of like a high masking, having to always be available, huge energy drain sort of situation.
Yes. I could tell from your energetic field that we are neurodivergent.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, so.
Yes. So I could see how that would be draining. I could see how it would be a rewarding position to be in because you're helping so many
Mm,
people, but also very
yeah.
high stress and just a lot.
Mm,
Okay.
exactly. Exactly.
Yes. Okay. So let's get into what I saw in your energy fields. When I went in there, I saw like all this confetti being thrown on you,
Nice.
and the song Rain on Me by Lady Gaga was playing, and
Oh,
your
that's
higher
funny.
self said that you've you have recently experienced some type of celebration, which that might be you exiting from a job. But is there
Eh.
something else that comes to mind when you hear that?
Well, I have been, so my living situation is, while I was in the job, I was able to negotiate with my family to build a little house in their backyard.
Nice.
So I'm living very close to a lot of my traumas are like the generational traumas from the
Hmm.
neurodivergent lines and all of the things that happen coinciding with that, plus the outside stuff, the
Hmm.
societal stuff. So I've been processing a lot of the um, more familial stuff. And on Saturday, this felt like a big celebration. I basically reinforced the fact that I am an autonomous being and nobody has power over me.
Nice.
And only I get to decide what I'm going to be
Mhm.
doing in my life. And that was a very big celebratory feeling. So
Love that.
possibly that. Yeah.
Okay, love. Generally, when I ask questions like that, and the first thing that comes up, that's what your subconscious is like most like priming right now and is like
Yeah.
circulating in your field. So love that. Okay, and that has to do with some of the things that are coming up in your reading today as well.
Mm.
Um, so your higher self said, even though we do celebrate some things, we're not celebrating all things. So what she means by that is oftentimes we'll put our off, excuse me, our success because we're like, oh, it's not big enough to celebrate. When
Mm.
when we are experiencing burnout from exiting the matrix, because sometimes we think, oh, we're going to feel so much better and we're going to be relaxed and it's going to be chill, and the opposite is true when you go through this like really intense dysregulation situation. Okay?
Yeah.
Especially if you've been used to structure for so long and then all of a sudden you don't have it, like that sounds lovely, but on the other side of it, it's like, what am I supposed to be doing? Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. So she wants you, while we are learning to heal our central nervous system, to really take into account all of the things that we are doing, because that's going to give you a lot more dopamine. Okay.
Okay.
Cool.
Okay.
And it's going to facilitate you doing these quote unquote bigger things or inspired action moves. Okay. So
Okay.
something that helped me while I was going through a burnout phase like that, and in conjunction with abundance and prosperity, specifically financially. Okay. When we are experiencing burnout like that, it makes us sometimes dip down into lack mentality and fear
Mm.
and
Hmm.
anxiety. Okay. Even if we
Yeah.
have, a safety net and things like that. So instead of focusing on finances and money, if we can kind of redirect that to how can I bring more abundance into my life as a whole? Like that's the frequency that I am
Okay.
looking for, because abundance up here, money's right under it. So if you can bypass over to abundance, money just naturally
Yeah.
comes to you because you're an attractor for it. So I'm going to give you a activity that your higher self said might be beneficial for you too. So when I was going through this phase, I said, you know what? I think that I have been blocking some of my finances because I'm waiting for these big things to happen, where every single action step that I take throughout the day could be helping me with my finances, even if they don't
Mm.
seem directly correlated. Me
Mm.
relaxing and watching anime and regulating my central nervous system, that is helping me be more abundant in my life and a natural attractor to money. Okay. So I
Okay.
went to Michael's and I got this board and I got a bunch of stickers. Every time I would do something that was like fun or relaxing or enjoying, I would put it on the board and I would put a sticker next to it and I'd be like, look at me and all of the things that I am doing. Okay. So
Gold stars. Gold stars for everything.
yes. Okay. So I'm going to read some of these to you so you get some examples.
Okay.
So, it's not like specifically towards like money. Okay.
Okay.
So I post a TikTok video, walked, like went on a nature walk. I created this board. I put that on there too, okay? Got some fruits and vegetables from the grocery store because that helps me with my physical health, feeling better, like self-concepts, listening to music, writing down some affirmations, playing with my dogs. Just anything that made me feel really good goes on the board. And I'm like, wow, I'm taking so many action steps in my life that aren't necessarily in the same framework as work or capitalism. And
Mm-hmm.
2 days after I started this board, I made $1,500 in my business
Damn.
because I was in a good mood and because my videos
Yeah.
I was posting were different because I was in higher energetics.
Yeah.
Was
Yeah. It came
showing up
through. No, that
differently in
checks
life.
out. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So she said that might be good for you to do that activity while you're in this
Okay.
chapter of your life. Okay. And it's
Cool.
relatively cheap. You just get a board and some stickers.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, that sounds totally doable.
Yes.
Um,
Anything that just makes you feel like yourself and brings you joy and happiness. And I made a stipulation with myself, which I need to get back to. But before I went to bed, I was going to put 5 things that help me create forward movement in my life on the board.
mm,
It was kind of like this regimen.
hmm
And then you're in a good mood before you go to sleep. And then you wake up and
Yeah.
the next day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Feedback loop. Okay.
Yes. And what that does as well, when you're out and about throughout the day, you're thinking, oh, what else can I put on my sticker board later? And we start
Yeah.
actively seeking
Okay.
things with our subconscious of like, oh, I'm going to get stickers later. Okay. You
Very
can,
much the dopamine. It's like gamifying it.
yes.
um, okay.
Okay. Okay. But we need to have that intention when we're putting things on the board. Look how abundant I am. The goal is to teach ourselves we are abundant in multitudes of ways, not just our productivity at work. Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Meticulously undoing capitalism.
Yes. In a fun way
Um,
with stickers with our
yes.
inner children. Okay.
Yes. No, I like it. I like it.
Yes. So when I went a little bit deeper into your field, I heard your higher self say, we have the Midas touch. And what that means
Okay.
is whatever we put energy and attention into and whatever is important to us, we're very good at. We hyper
Okay.
focus
Yeah.
until we figure out how to be the absolute best pro, but that's also why we get bored really easily because we figure out something
Yeah.
quickly and we're like, okay, I'm done with that. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's a
Okay.
wonderful thing to have, to be excellent at everything that you do. However, that can also be very overwhelming because
Yes.
it's like, oh, well, I could do anything. And now I'm stuck in indecision and limbo.
There are so many options.
Yes. Okay.
Um,
So what comes up when I say that?
well, first my brain did the um, jingle, the Midas touch jingle, which really amuses me. And yeah, I mean, that's one of the things that I've been trying to let go of is the need to control, because I do have this understanding that my interests are spread far and wide,
Yes.
and to stop not beating myself up, but sort of forcing myself to keep staying interested in something once the interest is naturally faded. So I'm trying to more of the going with the flow stuff. Um, so that's what comes to mind. Did that answer?
Oh, for sure. For sure.
Okay.
Okay, so me, not that this is the path that you're going to take, but I think you eventually will. I have a very special way of wielding my magic and my energy healing abilities because I know a lot of different things. I have dipped
Mm,
my toes into a billion different modalities and like here. But I had to be okay with releasing these very constrictive parameters in which I was trying to live in because,
mm,
society tells us like, oh, you got to focus or you'll never be good at
mm.
something if you don't, go work out for like 40 years. Okay. You also have that same type of archetype of innovator. What we
Okay.
do is going to
Yeah.
look very different from other people that you probably seen that in your 3D jobs as well of like, well, why don't we do it like this? This would be so much better and more optimal. And everybody's
Yeah.
like, no, that's not how we do things. Okay. But
Yeah.
if you were able to have free reign in whatever type of job you had in the past, it would so greatly amplify everybody's workflow.
Yeah, yeah. Well, no, that definitely resonates because even like around for stuff that's just for me, there's a part of my brain that sort of optimizes the
Yes.
whatever task it is.
Yeah, even fun.
Um,
How can I do this fun more fun?
yeah, yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Um, so no, that totally checks out. Um, man, it's so funny. I just can't get over how, because it really feels like my higher self has been like breadcrumbing me this entire time.
Oh
Um,
yeah, they do that.
yeah. And then
Yeah.
like now I can kind of see it a little bit ahead of time. So when it
Mhm.
hits,
Yeah.
um, it's funny. Yeah.
Yes. She's saying, hey, what we're going to be doing in the future, we really have to release those constraints on ourselves and just
Mm,
chase the joy, chase the dopamine. And,
okay.
we need to have some structure. Obviously, the things that I do in my business, I'm a very free, flowy type of person. But at the same time, there are things that need to be done in order for it to keep moving, right? But
Yeah.
it's finding that balance of how can I be very creative and open and exploratory in the things that I'm doing while still having, a outline or a structure that keeps me on track.
Yeah. Just got to find the right guardrails.
Yes,
Um,
exactly. Yes.
okay.
Okay. So when I went deeper into your field, I saw this group of sheep and you were in the middle of the sheep and then you popped your head up and I noticed that you were actually a wolf. Not in the sense that we see in like media of like a wolf in sheep's clothing, even though you were
Right.
okay, but not in like a
Yeah.
scary way or trying to
Not in
harm
a
anybody.
sinister way.
Right. So you
Okay.
popped your head up and then like 007 music started playing from like
Awesome.
James Bond. And then you sat back down and then you like covertly made your way out of the group. And when I was talking to your higher self, she said, what you do, this is where we're about to go a little bit more multidimensional and some things that are happening on a higher plane of your existence that are going to start trickling
Okay.
down to this version of you that I'm talking to. So she said, what you do is track humans' behavior. And what she showed me was you going like this, like, what are the humans doing? And you like just are very observatory. And you have done that not necessarily as a survival mechanism, even though sometimes we do this where the masking comes from, but it's more so
Yeah.
like, I'm not from here and I need to figure out how to fit in so y'all don't think that I'm just like off my rocker. And
Right.
I'm the odd one that sticks out. And so you spend a lot of time observing humans' behaviors.
That is accurate.
Okay. So there's a reason, a higher reason that you do that too. One is to help your human, this avatar of you traverse through this
Yeah.
existence a little bit easier. However, you have a little bit of a covert rebel archetype. Okay. So other rebels that I see are a lot more extroverted in the ways that they do things. They're very like outspoken and they're like kind of jarring sometimes, but that's how
Yeah.
you make shifts. You're more like on the sly. Okay. So
Yeah. No. Covert
okay.
rebels. Excellent.
Yes. Yeah, it's just like it's more demure. Like
Yeah. Well, no. So okay, my name is Madeline, which
mhm.
the root is Mary Magdalene, which like rebellion, and my middle name is Grace. And so one of the things that's been making me laugh this whole time is like how my trajectory has like pivoted to sort of align with my name.
I can see
It's
that with Mary
just
Magdalene being very like covert rebellious.
yeah, yeah.
Very, like yeah.
Um,
Yes. So your higher self was saying that the symbology of you being in those the herd of the sheep, the more ethereal form of that. So when I look at people's energy field, oftentimes they have earth magic, ethereal magic, celestial magic, or galactic magic. And sometimes they lean more towards the other, right? So when I look at your field,
mhm.
you have a lot of ethereal energy. So like
Okay,
fairies and elves and very like just light and airy. Okay.
nice.
Fairies and elves and things of that nature can also be very earthy, but you're more like in the clouds, like,
Mm,
okay, flitty. Okay. So when I read that in your field, I saw you know how sometimes on uniforms they'll have like a symbol of like what sector different military persons are a part of. Like it could be like the
yes.
Marines or the Army or something like that. Okay, so the badge that I saw on you had a dragonfly. And then I heard your higher self say, "Oh, she's part of this task force."
Nice.
I said, "What?" She said that, okay, sometimes we have different incarnations of us, or we have spirit guides. Sometimes we can have concurrently running timelines, which is like another version of yourself that's living in the same time and space, but like in a different dimension or somewhere else on Earth. This
Okay.
is a higher version of yourself in like the astral etheric planes, but it's a version of you in this incarnation. So it's like a just higher vibration, higher frequency, higher self, if that makes sense. Okay.
Interesting.
Yes. So when I was asking her about these dragonfly members, when you look through dragonfly eyes, it kind of looks like a kaleidoscope.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's what I saw. And your higher self said that, oh, you're a timeline keeper. Okay, this is where we're about to get real esoteric.
No, let's do it.
Okay, so she said that you help nudge people to the greater collective timeline. So what that means is everybody lives in their own reality bubbles. Okay.
Yes.
But there's
Yes.
there's like a bigger collective reality bubble that we're all in. Okay. So what we're kind of seeing right now is a split off of like people that are not waking up and don't want to, and they're doing their own thing over
Mhm.
here. And then there's a whole bunch of us light workers and empaths that are like, hey, let's go live this magical life over here with unity consciousness away from capitalism, like all these different things.
Yep.
Okay. So this task force helps nudge people onto the unity consciousness timeline. And yeah, they're like, hey, just kind of like bumping them a little bit while they're walking.
Yeah.
And the way that you do that is from you studying human behavior and understanding the way to navigate conversations with others to help them see a higher timeline for themselves and the collective. And sometimes you'll just say these like really quick snippets to people. And what that does is it plants a seed, and they say to themselves like, oh, well, what if it was like this? What if my life could be different? What if I just be in this? Just kind of like opening up their perceptual awareness of possibilities. And what that does is it is aligning them with that higher timeline that we are all collectively trying to get on together.
This all checks out and is very much in keeping sort of with like I've had sort of notions. Like I feel like I've been sort of like nibbling around what my various like how I am in this world.
Yes.
And so that's sort of like the picture that I was kind of building for myself in terms of understanding. But it's just it can be really hard, especially because I was an atheist like 4 months ago. So like the amount of the it almost feels like an opposite understanding of reality. It's a big swing, I guess is what I'm saying. It's a really big shift. So the having to work through the self-doubt or the self-doubt and because like part of my arc was understanding I am but one perspective, and so respecting that while also sort of understanding that I'm seeing a bigger picture that perhaps other people aren't seeing, sort of balancing those. It's been tricky learning that. So it's really nice to have the outside of myself sort of
like reflected back.
Yes. Exactly.
So your higher self wants me to mention really quick that, okay, because you have kind of like a rebel archetype, let me see how she wants me to say this. So within spirituality, there can also be a lot of programming. It can be a different flavor of religion.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you ever bump up against that and it starts feeling very grating and not good to your system, let's just drop all of that spirituality stuff. Let's just make this a better world for other people. Let's just all get on a higher frequency and treat other people with love and kindness and respect. Like all of that other stuff, star seeds, all this other stuff. Like if that's not your jam, don't worry about that. Okay. Or the dragonfly task force, whatever. Okay. How can I help people have better experiences in their life? on an individual
Yeah.
level and as a collective. Like that's something that we can always come back to because that's a universal truth for everyone to want to be living in better unison with one another.
Yeah. 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 Going back to the unconditional love
Yep.
stuff.
We can always go back to that, although the stuff doesn't really matter. Okay.
Yes.
Until you
Yes.
dip your toes back in. Okay.
Yes. Very good.
Yes. So now we get into a little bit more hyper specific about how you can create more intentional timelines for yourself and other people. So one of the concepts that Bashar talks about is parallel realities
Hmm.
and how there can be multitudes of different Earths.
Hmm.
Okay. You and I right now in this conversation are on the same Earth. Okay. You and I are having this conversation to align your energetics. But 6 months from now, you may never see or hear from me again. And you go on a completely different path and you are on a different existence of Earth. So this is how some people can have very different or very similar experiences to one another in life, like trauma and things that they've been through. But because of their perceptual awareness and their beliefs of themselves and reality and other people, they're living vastly different experiences. Kind of like how the TikTok algorithm works, of like my algorithm could look nothing like yours, and I've never seen anything on yours, and you've never seen anything on mine. And we live
Yeah.
in two different realms of existence. So your higher self was saying that because you are part of this dragonfly task force and you are a timeline keeper, there are a lot of persons that you're going to come in contact with during this incarnation that want to live in your sector. Okay. That want to be in the same kind of ideologies and truths and understandings and kind of headed towards the same goals and outcomes and what they want for humanity and the collective. So you might be living on what she said, Earth 6005, and there's a whole different type of collective outcome that is happening. Let's say, for example, okay, there could be a Earth that I am, and I hate to bring this up, let's say politics, because that's popular right now. Okay. There could be one person that is living on one plane of existence that somebody won, and then somebody else living on another plane of existence where the other person won. And both of those realities are true at the same time, but is living in different dimensions from one another.
That makes sense.
Yes.
And keeping with this is all, we're all projecting and experiencing the projection.
Yep.
But as I understand it, we're still in the same soup. Yeah, it's
yes.
It's very interesting.
Yes. Now, because you are a timeline keeper, okay, and you're nudging people onto these timelines, at the same time, you're also nudging people into your sector, how your world and realm is going to look like. And I had this conversation with somebody else the other day that some people are more timeline creators and some people are more timeline hoppers, depending on where they're at in their consciousness. Some people need a leader. They need leaders that are also going to teach them how to be leaders and how to be sovereign.
Right.
That's part of your gift of like, hey, I'll help you get somewhere better, but then I also need to teach you how to do this yourself.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. So
yeah, you don't want people following forever.
Yes, not forever. Okay. Maybe a little bit. Okay.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of people that are living within your sector. Okay. And the importance of that is your higher self said, we need to be very clear about what we want in our sector, or what she called instead your realm, because I also think that you have a little bit of like magician, like wizard type of energy. So realm was like a word that was a little bit better than sector, because you don't seem like you're like military minded. That's that other
I do like realm.
Okay. So she said, let's call it realm. Okay. What do we want in our realm? Like what version of Earth do we want to be living in this incarnation? So having that kind of more at the forefront of our mind, because that is something that you are projecting into existence.
Okay. Yeah.
You don't have to get swallowed up into the bigger, like we're all experiencing the bigger collective timelines, but there is so much more nuanced than that. Like there's so, if you're very conscientious, you can break away from that and be experiencing something like even more vastly different than the collective consciousness.
Mm. Yeah, no, that checks out. That checks out. It's just a lot to think about.
Yes. So when I was talking to your higher self, she said, have you ever been scrolling on social media and there's something that does not feel good energetically? You're like, oh, this is not for me. Okay. The reason that is because it's not in highest alignment with that
Mm.
realm that you are wanting to live in.
Mm.
Some of the reasons that we continue to watch things like that is because our body craves dysregulation.
Mm.
Because that is how we've been programmed by society,
Right.
culture, and religion and the government, because fear equals panic, which equals
Mhm.
disempowerment.
Yeah.
So that has been
Real
driven into us
sneaky.
to be dysregulated 24/7. Okay. So when we are consuming things, that is how we are creating our realm, though, because when we start projecting that and we start experiencing that, it starts flooding into our actual existence. So if you're watching things that are very scary or jarring or upsetting, you're going to get more of that in your outer reality. For you,
Okay.
it's even a level above that because you are like more actively creating this like bigger timeline for you and other people. She's like, we need to be mindful about what we are projecting into our realm. Okay.
Uh, yes, I quite like this because it gives, there's that little part of my brain that's like, you still have to pay attention to the things. Um,
Mhm.
but I've been trying to find the balance with that too,
Sure.
the being aware without having my system co-opted by it.
Sure. Kind of like observing and where can I help from an observant level instead of like absorbing and then letting it take me under.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly.
Yes. Yes.
Um,
I'm
that's
going to
been
give
tricky to learn.
Yes. I'm going to give you an example of that, which I think might be helpful and tangible. Okay.
Okay.
So, but it might be a little bit triggering. So I apologize. So I have a deep fondness for children. Love them, have worked with them for many years, bring me a lot of joy. They're just lights onto the world. Okay. And it's
Hmm.
easier to talk to children than adults. So I have always wanted to help children in some type of capacity. And for a portion of my life, I thought that I was going to help children that were being trafficked.
Mm.
And I realized there's no way that my system could handle that. Like it would
Hmm.
just be so overwhelming. I'd be so sad and it would
Yeah,
just lead me down like paths that I wouldn't be able to function in my best system.
right.
So at one point, I said, what can I do with the gifts and talents that I have in something that is going to light me up and I'm still going to be able to help?
Hmm.
I help people with their inner children
Hmm.
so they do not become said persons or that they can
Hmm.
heal from having those experiences or just helping liberate them from oppressiveness that they have experienced in life. That is how I help without having to be so direct. But I ask myself, what can I do from where I am at and that will still keep me afloat in life? Those are the questions we need to be asking self.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No, that checks out. That totally checks out. I feel like I've been like circling that understanding too. Um, which, if I could ask, why I think understanding because it's from our perspective. What? How did you? Was that your thing that you came up with, or?
Oh, it's saying the word understanding.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Instead of
Oh, okay. Yeah, no.
understanding.
I saw a different energy healer in a podcast. And she said,
Mm.
and it was like an hour and a half podcast. And I don't remember anything from the podcast except her saying, like, I understand because it struck chord within me. And
Mm,
how she was
gotcha.
explaining it was the terminology of understanding is coming from a place of disempowerment because it's putting you underneath somebody else when
Okay.
we all have something to share and learn from one another. So when you say understand, it takes out that disempowerment cord that runs through that word.
Gotcha. I like that. I like that. Okay.
Yay.
Cool.
I love I love spreading that and then people adding it into their vocabulary.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, I'm well because I've learned thus far for me at least the way. I frame words or spells, right? So the way you
Yes.
speak to yourself and the way you know, contextualize things
Mhm.
has a big impact. So yeah, cool.
Have you gotten into neuro-linguistic programming?
I have not. That sounds up my alley, though. I'm sure I'll
I'm
get
gonna
there.
send you
Neuro.
I'm gonna send you this thing, and it's called Watch Your Words, and it's this free 21-day challenge with this woman named Christina. And she takes these really common words that we use and dissects why it's seeped in more like negativity or how it can throw us out
Mm,
of imbalance, and then she interjects a word into it instead. And when I watched that, it really helped me understand the way that I was projecting my energy through words, and it made me much more
mm,
mindful of it. And but you might
cool.
do really well to dip your toes into neuro-linguistic reprogramming. I think you'd really enjoy that. Yes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, that sounds like
Okay.
fun.
Yeah, so I will send that to you. Also, do you know who Bob Proctor is?
Uh, the name sounds vaguely familiar, but it's not connecting to anything.
He's like kind of like an older school like spiritualist, but he has a lot of like very solid, tangible ways of explaining like quantum physics and things like that, having like our
Okay.
mind and how those things correlate. So he has some really fascinating videos on what paradigms are and what it means to live inside of them and how to break out of them. I think that would be really beneficial for you to watch. It goes in
Yeah.
line with that wolf popping its head out of the sheep. Okay, so I'll send you that as well so you can watch.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Okay. So one of the things that your higher self wanted to bring to light was the need to relax, because that is the only way that your central nervous system is going to heal, and for you to have enough
Okay.
energy, whether that's physical energy, mental energy, spiritual, emotional, to get into this next chapter of your life. Okay.
Hmm.
So that's why that board comes in handy too, of like, hey, it is still like I can still be productive while I'm relaxing. Eventually, we
Hmm.
need to get away from that, but baby steps.
Right. Yes,
Okay.
yes.
So, right. I'm still supporting and serving myself by relaxing. It's not just a
Hmm.
waste. Okay. So, one of the affirmations that she wants you to start saying is I experience more blank when I relax. So
Okay.
what would be a word that you would put in there, a positive word that you want to experience?
I mean, joy.
Great. What else?
Um, it's almost all humor. It's like all the stuff that hits around that.
I love that.
Um,
Humor's great. That's a
yeah,
good one, yeah.
yeah. The being present to notice all of the funny things the universe does. Um, those are the main things that come to mind. I find generally when I'm present and um, not feeling, bogged down by stuff, I'm a pretty. You said at the beginning. I tend to
Exuberant,
be,
positive.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Um, yeah, so definitely being relaxed allows for more of that. Um, and noticing in the body all of the things that we're healing. Um, like the tension I had in my stomach for however many years that finally that I found was like, oh, my stomach's in a tiny little knot. Um, yeah. Yeah, all of those things. It's noticing all of the things that I'm trying to untangle that got tangled up while living in the systems. Um,
I would, oh, what are you saying? Oh, okay. Finances and abundance. I experience more wealth when I relax.
oh yeah,
I
that would
experience
probably be a good one too.
Yes, I experience more abundance while I
Mm,
relax, because that's something that coincides with unplugging from the matrix. That's the way
mm,
that fear programming has been installed into a lot of people.
mm-hmm.
So
Yeah,
if we can interject that with like, no, when I relax, I receive what I need to receive. Okay, so
yeah, yeah.
affirmation to take with us. Now, something that's also going to be beneficial just for you moving forward in life, because you are going to be working with people in whatever capacity that is to have a good understanding of how our central nervous system works and how that affects us, because that's something that you're working on healing right now anyway. So that would help accelerate things by having a good understanding. I have 2 videos that I'm going to send you. One is an energy healer. Her name is Carlina. She talks about the central nervous system from a spiritual, esoteric lens, which I think would give you a different perspective. It's not so sciencey. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then another one from a Peruvian shaman. And he talks about the differences between your 4 energy bodies: physical, spiritual, emotional, and mental, because all of them need different things from you. And once you understand that processing and what those differences are, it's much more easy to keep your state in equilibrium.
Yeah,
We're not looking at ourselves like an overwhelming whole. It's like, oh, now today I can focus on my mental body.
Yeah. Right, no, I like that. That'll be really helpful.
Perfect. Okay, so one of the questions that she wants you to ask yourself when you remember every day: what have I done to relax today?
Okay.
Okay, that's going to be a good anchor.
Okay.
You can even ask yourself before bed, and even if we haven't done something to relax, when we ask our subconscious questions like that, especially when we're in theta state before bed, it interprets it as something that's very important, almost like a checklist. When you give your subconscious a job, it will do everything in its power to do said thing. So it's like, hey, what have we done? Okay, we didn't do anything today. Well, then what is something that we could do tomorrow? And it starts prepping your mind. What have you done today to relax?
What have I done today to relax? It just so much depends on how you define relaxing. Because like, so in the morning when I first get up, I go outside with my dog, and I've started doing like qigong, I think. I don't know. It's somebody I follow on TikTok, and it's the meridian stuff and trying to get things flowing. So that was very relaxing, but it's also something that is pushing me in the direction that I'm trying to go. So, but it can be both. Yes.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. You do things that are very active, that are like, I can go to raves and it's super relaxing, but I'm like, okay. Like,
yeah.
Yes, whatever relaxing is for you.
Okay.
Yes. Something that has really helped me, because when you are dysregulated and overstimulated and we're going into panic mode and you can feel your body like getting really crunchy, is I have a list on my phone of things that bring me joy and that are relaxing and help regulate my central nervous system, because you don't remember those things when you're freaking out. And oftentimes, with us being neurodivergent, which to me, that's just us being multidimensional, and tapped into other planes, we never know what type of energy we're going to be in every day.
Yeah.
It can be, we're on God level, and the next day it's like, I can't get out of bed. Okay.
Yeah.
Be into regulation. So I make sure and put on that list a lot of different activities for different levels of energy. So maybe there are things that I can only do, sitting in bed, but that's fine. I still feel like I am doing something for myself, or doing something for the collective, or for my friends, or whatever, but it's from my bed. Okay. Yeah. So maybe having something like that with us would help us when we get into those states.
Yeah. Yeah. Having a little external brain storage for when your brain is otherwise occupied with managing.
Yes.
The
all
system.
The cortisol and the adrenaline. Yes. Okay. So, and it is going to make sense in a second, but your higher self wanted me to share that I had a session earlier, and then in between sessions, I had time, like break time, like where I could just do whatever I wanted to do. I was feeling dysregulated, and sometimes when I feel dysregulated, I think that doing more actions will regulate me, because that is the dysregulated brain talking to me. Okay, it was like, well, you have this and this and this and this and this, and you could be doing this, and you're not doing enough, and not right. So in the past, I would have been like, okay, and just got further into dysregulation, but still been productive.
Right.
I, however, said, no, I have a session later. I need to be chill. Okay, so I can show up in the best capacity for her. What we're gonna do is I read some of my book. I listened to this lady making potions on a ASMR video.
Oh, nice.
And I closed my eyes for 10 minutes. Okay. And I also walked outside in the sunshine for like 5 minutes to walk my dog, and that
Mm,
was enough. And I was able to regulate my energy field so that I would show up in a better capacity for this session, right?
mm,
Otherwise, it's allowing that programming to take over. It's allowing
hmm.
the capitalism. It's allowing the fear mongering. It's allowing your whacked out central nervous system to be at the wheel of consciousness. And sometimes
Right.
you're real holding boundaries with yourself and saying, relaxing is the answer.
Yes.
Okay,
Very
relaxing is
purposefully.
the key. Okay. I know that goes against everything in our fiber of being, but we don't want to be in the realities that we were in the past. And that's how that functioning mechanism works. It's,
Right.
oh, you're freaking out? Let's do more, 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 more. As the that's not the answer.
No, we want to get off that train.
Yes.
Um,
Okay.
okay. Yeah.
And she wanted to bring that up because there are going to be circumstances while you're going through this healing phase that she's going to be like, what are we going to do? Like looking over your shoulder. Okay. What choice are we going to make?
What
Okay.
decisions are we making today?
Yes. Because that's how you level up. That's how you get to the
Hmm.
next, chapters of your life is clearing out the old stuff. And the only way to do that
Hmm.
is to make different choices.
Right. Yeah. Like I can almost, yeah, can almost feel that.
Yes.
um, yeah, because I've been following the astrology stuff a little bit more, and
Hmm.
so I've been sort of like watching what I naturally do, uh, and comparing that to sort of like the eclipse energies, various stuff, and
Hmm.
it's all been that kind of stuff. It's like, I've done this before, and then I made a decision that upheld my autonomy, and then there's almost like a proud mama sort of vibe that happens
Hmm.
after. It's nice.
Yes.
It's
She's
really
like, good
nice.
job.
Yeah.
From
Exactly.
bacteria. Yes. So the reason that she wanted me to bring this up is because, okay, the collective consciousness that we are shifting into, and attention has been a currency for a long time. Okay.
Hmm.
Energy is going to be, and consciousness is going to be a new currency.
Mm.
We're still going to have money. Okay. But a lot of people who are very tapped in and tuned into their own energy fields and know how to mitigate them and how to stay regulated, there is a magnetism to that. And that is how
Mm.
you up level in your reality of life, is being very in tune with self. So I'm going to give you an example of how that works. And she also said that you need to be in a lot more receiving mode.
Okay.
Okay. So, yes. Okay. So we'll talk about that in a minute. But
Okay.
when I want to create videos on TikTok talking about
Hmm.
people's like Akashic journeys or whatever I'm talking about, or topics of interest, if I am in a whacked out, dysregulated situation, that's not really helping anybody. Like that's encoded into the energetics of that video. And that's not
Hmm.
being like the best leader I could, and all these different things.
Right.
And I am in the flow state, and I am doing things for me and pouring into my cup and get myself to this elevated state of being, and then I make a video, then I have a whole bunch of clients sign up and a whole bunch of money come into my business. Right.
Mm.
That's because I'm managing my currency of energy. Because
Mm.
I'm showing up in that capacity, people are ingesting the information and the downloads and the insights in a completely different capacity, and it's doing so much for
Yeah.
them in the collective. So it's an exchange, right? There's money involved, but it's not necessarily about the money. It's more so like, hey, let's all get ourselves to these higher states of being. And if I'm in that leader position,
Yeah.
I need to be doing that, just like
Yeah.
you for your timeline creator abilities. Okay. So I'm going to give you an example outside of business. So I went to Target the other day, and I was asking this employee if he could help me get some AirPods like out of the thing. And he took me to the counter. He was like, "Oh, I love your hair." And I was like, "Oh, thank you." And look, we were chatting. And he was like, "Did you know they were opening an Ulta in here next week?" And I was like, "An Ulta in here?" And he was like, "Yeah." And he's like, "I don't know why I needed to tell you that. I just felt like I did." That is the form of energetic currency exchange where me and him were having like
Hmm.
this really good conversation, and then he offered me up this piece of information.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So that happens all the time. When I prep myself for going out in public and I'm like, I expect to receive compliments and I expect to give compliments. I expect beautiful things to happen to me and I'm going to do beautiful things for other people.
Mhm.
That's when I get gifts and people being super sweet and kind. And I hear about
Mm.
experiences I wouldn't have otherwise, or things like just align for me. I get the best parking spaces. Like that's how I'm molding my reality around me with my currency of energy.
Okay. That sounds very much like the whole idea of the divine timing stuff.
Hmm.
Um, aligning your energy to fit the flow of the universe or
Yeah.
what have you.
You get in like these currents of receiving and just everything kind of vibing and working out. It's like that all the time
Yeah,
now because we're human and we're supposed to dip
right.
into contrast and all this stuff. But it's nothing like the past.
Mm,
Okay, right? And then you can stay up in those elevated states of being a lot longer and just have a better overall existence. But what that takes is regulating self,
mhm,
resting, hyping ourselves up with celebration, noticing the small things that we're doing, all the things that we have talked
mhm.
about is how you get yourself into that type of reality, is what your higher self is saying.
Okay. 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 This is more or less what I was expecting. And it's very nice because I totally feel capable of that. So,
Oh, yeah. I can
yay.
definitely do that. One of the things I was going to say is when I was looking at your general energy field, you project a lot of rainbow energy. Like you have a rainbow auric fields, which I don't
Okay.
think that you're always necessarily like consciously aware of. And your
Mm,
higher self was saying, if you were a little bit more intentional about projecting that when you're out and about around other people or just in experiences, circumstances, you would be so more incredibly magnetic. Like you would pull so much more like blissful things into you, but kind
mm,
of that goes against our programming if we've had to mask and people please or hide
right.
for a really long
Yeah.
time. Like that's just like no, we want to be like part of the sheep instead
Yeah.
of like popping our head up and being like, look at me, I'm so shiny.
Yeah. Yeah. No, my brain was saying, take up that space, Maddie. Take up that
Yes.
space. Um,
Yes. Yes. Because there's
okay.
also a level that you can get to, like, okay, I think this will be relevant. Okay. So when I used to go out in social settings, I had this really intense fear of men, but that's
Mhm,
also because some things happened to me when I was younger that I hadn't quite worked
mm,
through yet. And I was listening to a lot of social media content that was like men hating
mm.
and like whatever you listen to, you're gonna get more of. Okay. It was
Right.
healing,
Yeah.
but at the
Yeah.
same time, like we were dipping too much into that. Okay. So I really had a chat with myself and I said, listen, I only want to perceive queer persons, the girlies, okay?
Hmm.
Like people that are like
Yeah.
real high vibe and like very
Hmm.
open-minded and fun and inviting and get it. When I go out into public now, that is all I perceive. And that is all that perceives me. It's almost like I have these blinders on and I'm only attracted to things that bring me that vibration and frequency. And that's really only that comes into my energy field as well. But it's because I set those parameters. And I also understand that if that's what I say I want my reality to run like, that's how it will. So
Okay.
she's
Yeah.
saying, hey, you can do the same thing where it's let's put these kind of like rainbow blinders on of I only want things that are matching this frequency, right? But you also have to believe that that's possible for you because belief is the key.
Hmm.
What
Okay.
comes up when I say that?
Um, that's what has been understanding is what's been trickling in. And this is just like confirmation reflection of keep at it. Keep believing.
Yes. Yes.
Um, and honestly, I've noticed that too. It's just yeah, the slowly picking out the knots of the other way of being. But increasingly, I'm starting to get that momentum picking up of the um the belief stuff. Yeah, it's so wild. It's been a wild few months. Um, but I'm delighted. Like, this is everything I could have hoped for. So, um,
She wants me to tell you to also insert, if you want to, I only want to see neurodivergent persons. I only want to see innovators. I want to see rebels. I want to see magical people. I want to see etheric people. I want to see people who are tapped in and tuned in, who are into their spiritual gifts. Whatever that is for you, set your parameters. That doesn't mean anything
okay.
negative about other people. They can be in their own reality bubbles and doing what they're doing. Okay. It doesn't mean that we're being mean or that anything like that. It's just, this is the frequency that is in my field. And this is what I'm going to pay energy and attention to. The universal algorithm.
Mm.
Okay. And then what you're going to be able
Yeah.
to do is teach other people these methodologies and help them cultivate and craft their own paradigms in which they live into. But you have to learn how those mechanisms work.
They work
You
first. Yeah.
living and breathing through it. And then it's going to be very easy for you to conceptualize that for others in a way that they will understand. But you have to live and breathe it yourself first.
Okay. Yeah. I gotta say, this is all very exciting.
Yay. Good. Yes. Now the other puzzle piece of this is that you are not so great at receiving mode.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
people putting a lot of attention on us, like positive attention.
Yeah.
Sometimes we like shrink back for that. And that can be for a myriad of reasons. That can be because people
Yeah.
hurt us, because, whatever, insert. What helped me, because I also was struggling in that area, was to listen to other people talk about what receiving mode is and how to get into that, and then start listening to people who are really good at being receiving mode. And it would allowed me to start to take on their energetics and the way that their consciousness works and weave that into my everyday life a little bit at a time. And then I started getting really good at receiving mode, and that's the floodgates of all types of abundance starts coming in. But because we have been living in survival mode for so long, and we're a tribal type of, social animal, but the way that, capitalism and all these things work is like, no, you're the other.
Yeah, it's made everything transactional.
Yeah, it's very protective, it's very defensive, and all these different things. Like, no, I don't want anything from you. When at the end of the day, this is a concept that helped me. Okay, so I had a very difficult time receiving from others because I didn't want to put them out, or I felt like they were trying to get one over on me. Okay, and my higher self was like, hey, listen, we are of the understanding that all of us are from source. Okay, we're all different perceptions of one another, and if this is not your belief, that's fine. Just another perspective.
It totally is my belief.
Okay, so if we're all of the same, source and different perceptions of one another, when you say no to another person, you are just saying no to yourself. Like, you are just blocking your own self from receiving beautiful things in life. Like, you're getting so wrapped up in the minutiae of like that person. And obviously, like, we don't need to be taking things from people that are manipulative or gaslighting and things like that. Right. But the reason that we pulled those people in the first place is because we had unhealed trauma. Well, you heal the trauma. Now we have different people that we're still not trusting.
Yeah.
And allowing to dote on us and compliment us and support us and help us. Right. And the universe is like, can you just allow yourself to be nice to yourself?
Take a compliment.
Yeah. It's just a mirror of you. Okay.
Yeah.
And we are stripping other people of their joy when we are not allowing them to support us in those ways. Like, that's a gift for them as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we need to be more confident in, I do deserve that compliment, and let me give this next person one too. Right? It becomes this exchange. And you're telling the universe, like, the universe told me, like, how are we going to send stuff to you if you won't even let people send things to you? Like, energy to you, because that's
fair question.
Yeah, that's often how the universe works. It's like, okay, let me align you with this person that's going to help you with this opportunity. But if we're over here like, no, I can only take things from the universe, they're like, Now, how does that work?
They're like, I just.
Yeah, okay. So
Okay. Yeah.
being more in receiving mode and understanding that there's no deserving. Like deserving is like a really wonky energetic word sometimes because it makes it seem like you can be deserving or not. It's like abundance is the natural homeostasis of the universe.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's like missing the point of the situation.
Right. Okay. So
Yeah.
it's not even getting to a place of I deserve this. It's like this is just how existence works. I lift you up, you lift me up. I compliment you, compliment me. I gift you with something, you gift me with something. Not because we're trying to get something, but that's just the universal currency of energy of abundance.
It's just because we're all vibing.
Yeah. So
Um,
like let's live in that reality
hmm.
and allow ourselves to receive more. Okay. Because they're like, hey, you're like a hop, skip, and a jump over to having like some really, really amazing things coming in. But it's the shrinking into self that's
Yeah.
getting a blockage here.
Okay. That checks out. I'm not surprised. um, okay.
Watching a couple receiving videos, like and really,
Mm,
really whatever you are having troubles with, or whatever I have been having troubles with, I will just go find some people that I really enjoy talking about something that they're really knowledgeable about and that they're really good at, and they're being an example and a leader. And it really
mm,
helps set me straight. It's like, oh, this is the missing key. This is what I've been needing. I haven't been understanding these concepts or what even that frequency feels like. Let me flood that into my consciousness, and all of a sudden I'm
mm,
making different decisions. So they're saying same thing
hmm.
for you. Whatever you're trying
Okay.
to shift and navigate your energy into, like you got a whacked out central nervous system, but we need to watch 27 videos about the central nervous system. Okay, because then we'll just be making different decisions and looking at ourselves in different lenses.
Yeah. Yeah. It's sort of like bringing up the program that you need to run to shift the
You
system.
got to override.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And sometimes to override that, we need to hear it in multitudes of perspectives from different people from
hmm
different walks of life. So it
hmm
really integrates and sets in.
Yeah. 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 No, that makes sense. More encompassing.
Mm-hmm.
Harder to talk yourself out of it if you've got it from so many different
All right,
angles.
you're like, oh, well, these
Um,
27 people obviously is working for them.
yeah. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. I am also going to send you a list of resources on timelines, parallel realities, and the observer effect, because that'll help you better understand your gift.
Okay.
Okay.
Cool.
So, any questions about the things that we talked about?
Um, I don't think so. Not at this time. A lot of that, yeah, that was very clarifying and helpful.
Good.
Um,
You would be a really good consultant because you can see where things are off energetically within whatever it
mm,
is, whether it's a business, whether it's giving people sessions and figuring out why they're blocked in their life. It's I can see where your thought patterns are off. I can see where logistics are off. I can see where your limiting beliefs are off. I can see where your employees are off. Like you can just see
mm,
the mapping of things like out in front of you because you're so observant and you've studied
hmm
for so long. Okay. If you want to head in those directions, you would be very, very good at that.
Okay, that is good to know. I had a notion of something like that. It's just a process moving from, there to here. So many things to learn. Um, are you done with your nap?
Oh. So, what was your biggest takeaway today?
Um, to carry on as I have been, and also like you're doing good so far, buddy. And the idea of working on the receiving. The receiving is like the biggest. That seems to be the biggest piece for me right now in terms of day-to-day shifting.
Mhm.
Yeah, so it feels like I have a little bit more of a map now instead of just a heading.
Yes.
Um, with an idea of what I want to tackle first, but relaxing and not pushing too hard. Yes.
Absolutely. You're doing very good with your healing journey as well, because when I read people's fields, sometimes they have a whole lot of trauma stuff that needs to be looked at. Yours is just like, can we relax and get some compliments?
Okay.
Okay.
Cool.
Like, that's where we're at. Okay. So
That is excellent to hear.
yes. Now, the videos that I send you, they are just a guide. If you don't like the teachers and mentors or the healers, don't listen to it.
Okay.
It's just a
Take what
kickoff.
resonates.
Yeah, it's a
Okay.
kickoff. It's, hey, here's some different perspectives. If you don't like them, that's fine. You don't have to watch them just because I sent them.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Is it okay as well if I talk about your spiritual gift that you had here in the Dragonfly Task Force? I don't have to.
Oh yeah.
Say no. I'll, that's fine too, but I always like to ask just in case other people can learn and grow from what came through.
Please do. Yeah, I'm happy to spread the knowledge.
Awesome.
That's
I would
excellent.
be very interested to see if there are any other members of this task force that come forward.
Dragonfly Task Force.
Yeah,
I love it.
Really cool. Yeah, it was very neat. Okay, I will send you your oracle cards and your crystal grid, and I'll send you the replay and then the resources as well. And then if you need anything in the future, let me know. And it was an honor to read for you, and I love your energy.
Cool. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. This was immensely helpful.
Yay. Okay. Have a magical day in your realm.
Thank you. You too.
Okay, bye.
Bye.